All right, James Laughlin, thank you so much for joining me today. And selfishly, I need this conversation so bad.
Dr. Anna Marie, I'm excited to be here.
Okay, so you sent me your book and love it. The most important thing, which I'm going through right now, is the anti hustle culture and you have this whole thing where it is about habits and not the hustle. But before we dive into that, can you share with everyone who you are and just the 411 on what makes you tick?
Yeah, thank you for having me. So, I'm James Laughlin, based here in the South Island of New Zealand, although my accent might tell you otherwise. I'm originally Irish. I've been here for 20 years. I came here to help one team become the first people from New Zealand to win the World Championships. It was quite the mission. In the end, they did win the World Championships. And I started going, these things that I've learned along my journey, how could I help others in different areas? So I now work with prime ministers, I work with Formula One teams, I work with individuals in sport and corporates. And what do I focus on? High performance. How do we achieve consistently above the norms whilst maintaining healthy relationships and well-being?
We all need this. We all need this, especially over here in America, because it is a hustle culture.
Mm.
And I literally yesterday, I was sitting with this idea of hustle, and I'm just like, I'm so like it. My body is like, no, I don't want. And for a long time, that's how I function: hustle, 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 high functioning, getting so much done. And literally yesterday, I went to church, and the pastor was talking about, not everyone's problem is yours to solve. And
Mm.
just because you can doesn't mean you need to. And what I have found is as I get into this hustle mindset, I'm in this rat race doing things that aren't even for me to do, but yet it's taking my
Mhm.
time and my energy and all of that. So, um, what would you say to somebody who is one, how do they know they're in the hustle culture? And two, what is why is it a bad thing to be in a hustle culture versus being in the habit of high performance? Like, what do you see
Mm.
is the differentiator?
Yeah, the person that's in hustle, they're going to know that because lots of other people around them are saying, "Whoa, you do so much. My goodness, you achieve so much. You do. How do you do that?" Do you relate to that, Anna?
Oh yeah. And then of course I'm like, good job, you. Good job. Because that's how I got attention when I was younger, was achieve, achieve, achieve. Yeah.
Course. And I think many of us can relate to that. And I'm sure lots of people listening. So as a kid, I wanted to be the world champion drummer. And so I won it at 13. I was like, well, that felt good. I got all this praise and all this media. And then at 14, I win it again. And then I start traveling. And all I wanted to do was win, win, win. And it was all this recognition. And recognition's important. But when it becomes so extrinsic that you're driven by money,
Mhm.
status, power, or fame, when that becomes your key motivator, it's not sustainable. And so high performance in terms of hustling feels great until it doesn't. And
Yeah,
sometimes it takes years for it to not feel great.
I'm there.
How do you know you're there? What are you feeling?
I'm feeling where like things that I'm achieving, it's not as fulfilling as what I thought it would be. And I'm realizing I just want to do a lot less but have more impact.
Mm.
And um I don't like when I'm in conversation where I feel like I have to prove myself. And
Mhm.
that's what I've been noticing. It's like in some circles, in some conversations with other very successful people, I'm finding myself like trying to prove myself when I sit back and I'm like, I have nothing to prove to anyone. I get to just be who I am. And so the
Mhm.
more I notice myself in those situations, it doesn't feel good in my body, and I try to take a step back from it. And so that's just something recently I've been noticing about myself, that I'm just like, it doesn't feel good. I'm in some groups like mindset or masterminds and stuff, and it's all about like the money and the next thing and the next thing. And I'm just like, I'm over here like no, it doesn't feel good in my body anymore. And
Mhm.
so I'm actively just saying, wow, what's next for me? And
Beautiful.
I don't know what it is.
I think that's really beautiful. And honestly, many people who are listening, me included, like building wealth and money and success is exciting and fun again until it's not.
Mhm.
And I've sat down and coached billionaires, and some of them are genuinely happy, but many of them don't have the wealth that money can't buy. And
Mhm.
that's that peace of mind. That's the love and connection to the simple things, great relationships. And I think there comes a point where you go, when is enough enough?
Mhm.
What does my financial retirement number look like? So when I get there, I can just chill out. And high performers are just radically clear on what success looks like. And so you might go into those groups, let's say your mastermind, and go,
Mhm.
radical clarity for me is I don't need to impress him or
Yeah.
her. I know who I am. And maybe this mastermind's not for me anymore. I've outgrown this
Yeah.
because my priorities are X, Y, and Z.
Mhm. Yeah, I actually found myself leaving an hour early from the last time I was in the mastermind because I just didn't I'm like, "What am I doing here?"
Mhm.
And it was interesting because I am a actively recovering people pleaser. And so to step away from the conversation, it took a lot of courage for me to do that.
Mhm.
And then when I did it afterwards, like, normally I would kind of beat myself up like, "Oh, I hope I didn't, like, offend them," and I didn't really go into that. I was like, "Yeah, just didn't feel good and I'm out." And so, yeah, it's interesting when you kinda wake up to that because I agree, like, the hustling and the building the wealth and all that, it's like the game of Monopoly for me. I played that game growing up and, like, buying properties in my 20s and, like, trying to, like, hit these certain markers. But then it becomes like, when is enough enough? And
Mhm.
keep moving that needle, and it's like, "Oh, I think, once I hit $100,000 a year, then I'll be happy. Once I hit, 200,000, I'll be happy. Once I hit my first million, once I hit 2,000,000, 5,000,000." And it's interesting because the carrot just keeps going in front. And I'm no longer in the energy of wanting to chase that carrot.
That's so exciting. That's a whole new lease of life.
It is, but I don't okay, share with me this. When you work with these high performers, one thing that I'm realizing is when things get quiet and I feel like things are slowing down, I actually have a little bit of panic in me. And I
Mhm.
have to remind myself that it's okay, but I'm so used to functioning at such a level of doing all the things that, like, me being still for a minute, it feels like uncomfortable, but it also feels uncomfortable to be in the masterminds. So I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm doing this. But do you find with clients that you work with, because you really take high achieving people and you take them from into the anti-hustle culture and you help them build and stack these habits. What goes on within them when you're making this transition from the hustle to the habit stacking? Do you notice any nervous system dysregulation within them? What are they sharing with you?
Yeah, so someone who's going from hustling, flat out work to, hey, I'm going to take a day off every fortnight, or I'm going to have a 2 week holiday and not have my laptop or my phone or my emails. There's a tension that comes with that. And essentially, we wire ourselves and become habitual creatures to that new level of work. So if you're very industrious, which high performers are, if you're very driven, which high performers are, you end up working at a pretty high work rate. And that becomes your Tuesday morning. That becomes someone else's, like, my God, best day of the year. I worked so well today.
Yeah.
It's Dr. Anna Marie's typical Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
So to go back and pull the gas back a bit feels deeply uncomfortable. And in fact, the amygdala fires off and goes, whoa, 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 we're in danger. Like, I'm going to go broke. I'm not going to be able to pay the bills. My customers are going to leave. People are going to look at me like I'm poor. All these things start going through our subconscious mind. And so I think it's really important to start almost exposure therapy, where start exposing ourselves to time off. So for me, starts with taking a Friday off every Friday. I'm like, whoa, whoa, no, no, no. Friday, I get so much done on a Friday. And I got my favorite clients and a whole day. But then I think, well, what if I don't take the time off? And what I say to my clients is if you don't make time for health, you'd better make time for sickness.
Mm,
And high performers are going to get sick. They're going to have an autoimmune disease. They're going to burn out. They're going to have strong relationships with alcohol, usually, or other substances to manage their high workload. So for me, it's about exposing yourself. So it might be saying, hey, I'm going to take 2 hours on a Friday off and no laptop. I'll get into nature and then start exposing it 3 hours, 4 hours, the whole day. And maybe for yourself in a couple of years, it might be that you work 2 weeks a month and
mhm,
the other 2 weeks you're volunteering and you're in nature and you're traveling.
mhm. Yeah, I love that. Like little exposures. My husband actually started doing that. He's a business owner.
Mm.
And about 2 or 3 months ago, he's like, I'm not working on Wednesdays anymore. And I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, I'm just not going to work on Wednesdays. So he will go golfing or take his plane and fly over and have a hamburger somewhere or like
I love that.
bougie. Like, I'm like, this is like, and my husband is not hustle culture. He owns a small trailer shop. He has worked his butt off since he's been 16 years old. And he's just like, I get Wednesdays off. And I'm like, good for you. You totally do. And then I literally just started to do, okay, Monday mornings, I'm off on Monday mornings. And like this morning, I went and got my eyelashes done. I went to my exercise class and I didn't see the first person until noon today. But I love that. But I will say I'm guilty of, I was like taking Mondays off and then I'm like, oh, I can fit this in on Monday. And so I was taking the Mondays off, but then I've been putting it back in. And so I am guilty of that. My husband,
Boundaries are everything.
oh my gosh.
The hardest boundary to set is not with someone else,
It's
it's
with
with
yourself.
ourselves. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my
We
God.
cave on ourselves so quickly. And I think it's about having leverage on yourself.
Mhm.
So I've a client, he was from Albuquerque, and he had some specific goals with his finances, but also with his health. And the health ones tended to be the more challenging ones. The finance, yeah, I'll make the money, but losing weight, getting in shape, very difficult. I says, okay, who's your least favorite politician in the US? And I'll not name who it is, but he named who it was. And I says, awesome. If you fail to do your 5F45 classes and you fail to do all your things, I want you to donate some money to that politician's like campaign. And he
Oh my.
went, there's no way. I was like, how much would you donate? He's like, $50. I said, would that cause you any pain? Like
No.
financially, would you struggle? He went, not really. I said, put another zero on that. Every time you skip a class, every time you don't eat the stuff, $500 to that politician. How many
Oh,
times do you think he donated to that politician?
zero. He did not miss classes. That's a
Exactly. So put some leverage. So Dr. Anna Marie, I'm going to say on a Monday, if you're taking Monday mornings off and you end up breaking that rule, what's your leverage going to look like? Who are you going to donate to?
oh gosh. I don't know. I don't really get involved in politics. I
Smart
mean,
move.
yeah, I mean, I live in California, so it's very yeah, it's very I'm abnormal here. So I'm not, yeah, it would probably kill me to have to donate to like you know, like the Gavin Newsoms of the world. I
There you
would
go.
die.
So that's your leverage. Like if you're calling me next Monday saying, James, I just donated $500 to Gavin, you're not
Oh
feeling good about yourself, right?
no. Oh my gosh, absolutely not. You know what a good one would be? I think I would have, this is going to sound so crazy. So I truly believe in collaboration over competition, but there is one business in town that pretty much they took the model that I'm doing and they opened it up like 2 miles away.
Hmm.
If I don't take off on Monday, I have to go pay them and do one of their services, same service I even have here. Oh my God, that feels so,
That's
that
that's
is
awesome.
worse. I'm sweating right now. I'm sweating.
Good. I expect a message from you if you end up doing it. I don't think I'll ever get that message.
Oh my gosh. I was trying to think of like, what's the worst thing? Cause like it takes a lot for me. Like I'm pretty easy going, but yeah, that would be the worst to donate and do something to your competitor.
There you go. That's
So,
brilliant. That's powerful, right?
yeah.
And now the chances of you committing to your Monday, protecting that time, giving yourself space, it's probably 100% higher.
Oh my gosh, 1000%. I love that. Thank you so much. So good. Okay, I have some rapid fire questions for you, which may turn into more discussion and not so much
Let's
rapid
do
fire.
it.
But I was talking with my team and we were excited that I was interviewing you on the podcast. And so some of the girls came up with some questions for you. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. So, what do you think people get wrong about high performer, like being a high performer, especially when it comes to health and wellness? Because we're a health and wellness company.
Mm.
So, what do you think these high performers are getting wrong when it comes to health and wellness?
They go straight to the one percenters. So the one percenters are the things that will elevate once you've got the base right. So if you're eating well, moving well, getting sunlight, getting into nature, sleeping well, they want to skip all that boring stuff and go straight to the bells and whistles. It's like
Mm.
actually get the basics right, and then the bells and whistles will actually have a bigger impact.
Oh, that's mic drop on that one. That's so good. I love that. All right, next one. Um, Many people are successful on the outside but struggling on the inside. So she wants to know, how can someone recognize that they're headed towards burnout? What are some signs that they're headed towards burnout?
Yeah, if you're headed towards burnout, the first signs you're going to experience, you're tired all the time. In the afternoon, you're just having that slump. You're struggling to get out of bed in the morning. You want the weekend to be 5 days rather than 2 days. You are not getting any highs anymore from the things that used to bring you joy. So things that you normally enjoyed, you're no longer getting those. You're maybe being reclusive. You're holding back more. So those signs are crucial, and sometimes it's hard to spot them in ourselves.
Mhm.
So it's super important to have someone you trust around you who can actually say, hey, I've noticed you're doing this. And to
Mhm.
me, I actually chatted with Australia's leading burnout specialist, and he's like Australian of the year. And he said to me, hey, James, your definition of high performance is wrong. I says, feel free to explain. And he said, high performance is just winning. I says, I disagree. So my definition of high performance is consistently exceeding the norms whilst maintaining healthy relationships and well-being.
Mm.
And I says, what's wrong with that? He says, no, high performance just means you win the thing. I say, okay, so let's go and talk to the parents of the person who's taken their life because they were a great athlete. They put everything into it. It's all they did. Or a great actor. We all know actors and they've been through.
Mm.
You want to go to that parent and say, hey, your child was the epitome of high performance. I was like, you could never in a month of Sundays dream of doing that. High performance is not about winning in one field of your life, in your career. It's about winning off field as well, having contentment, joy, mental peace, great connection with others and nature. So it's probably quite controversial in terms of how I look at that, but I don't think we should settle for
Yeah.
being the NFL legend and then having a horrific life off field. I'd rather be pretty damn good at NFL and maybe not be Tom Brady and
Mhm.
also have a really lovely life.
Yeah. Yeah. I love your definition. It's really good. It's like the being okay on the inside, no matter what is going on around you, no matter what you've achieved, but like having that inner joy and satisfaction. I think that's like the ultimate win in life for sure. Okay, another question. What is one daily habit that has had the biggest impact on your own mental, physical health over the years?
Okay, great question. The biggest daily habit for me that's changed my life and my clients' lives, super simple, journaling. That's
Mm.
it. Getting a journal and committing to it every single day. So every morning I write down that what I'm grateful for. And we've heard this a million times. There's so much research that backs that up in terms of building wells of resilience. Second thing, I'll go, what went well yesterday? And so
Mm.
it forces my brain to go, oh, what did I even do yesterday? So I go
Oh,
back through what went well. What did I learn yesterday? And that's kind of what didn't go so well. What were the learnings? And I think it's important to stop and reflect on that. And then last question, what's 1% better look like today? Those questions drastically changed my life. And for clients, I see massive changes in their lives over about 90-day period. If you do it for a week, most people can do a week. Most people give up after a week. You won't see any results. But if you can stick at it for 3, 4, 5 months, you will see a massive impact.
Wow. What went well? I love that. I love the 1% better. That's interesting. Um, and then the gratitude piece. And then what was the third one?
What did I learn yesterday?
Learning. Okay, yeah, those are all really great prompts.
So, like
Yeah.
today, this morning, an hour ago, I spoke to one of the world's leaders in longevity. So, he co-authored a book called Outlive, Peter Attia and Bill Gifford. So, Bill Gifford and I chatted today about his latest book, which is called Hotwired, and it's all about hot therapy, like sauna, specifically sauna. And so, I learned today I need to be doing sauna.
Yes, I have a sauna. I have 2 saunas at my wellness center. I need to be doing that as well. But you're in the winter right now, and we are in the summer, so it feels harder to do the sauna because it can get up to like 100 and something here. So
Wow.
Fahrenheit.
Wow.
Right. Let's see. Okay, so with the world leaders, elite athletes, top performers that you've interviewed, what do you see as one common trait that these people have where they are consistently thriving?
Number one is they're radically clear on what success looks like. So, a friend of mine, John, when he was 7, he said to his mum, I'm going to be a millionaire and I'm going to be the prime minister of this country. And she said, go for it. Of course you are. Now, his mum had escaped Nazi Austria. She was Jewish and had left very much a lot of wealth. She grew up with a lot of wealth, came to New Zealand and was living on state welfare, a solo mum raising 3 kids. It was tough. And him saying, I'm going to be a millionaire was kind of like, how on earth could that happen? Fast forward into his 30s, he ends up being on the Federal Reserve for the US, works for Merrill Lynch, makes a ton of money, many, many millions. Then comes home to New Zealand in his 40s, starts in politics, becomes one of the most loved prime ministers of this country. He was radically clear from a very young age what success looked like. And most people struggle with that. A little story, an example would be I had a young guy come to me maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And he said, James, could you be my coach? I said, yeah, I could be your coach. What do you want to talk about? Well, how can I help you? And he says, well, we'll chat about it next week. So we got together and I asked him the first question that I ask everyone. And the listener needs to ask this of themselves. So I said to him, hey, what do you want? And he said, I said, look, I'll see you next week. He says, what? Like, we're just getting started. I'm confused. I said, I know you're confused. That's why I'll see you next week. He says, James, I don't get it. Like, you're here to coach me. I was like, I know I'm not your friend. I'm your coach. And I'll be a friendly coach. But I asked you what you want. And you started with, anyone that starts with, so what's your financial retirement number? Hey, what's your favorite color? You don't know. So I said, I'll see you next week. So he comes back next week. Same question. What do you want? I want to be the greatest of all time in this sport. I say, awesome. Second question. Why do you want that so badly? Most people don't want to do that. They just want a good life, not a euphoric life. Why do you want that so badly? And he started telling me all the reasons, what it meant to him as a kid, and his grandparents were involved in the sport. And I said, okay, final question. How much are you willing to suffer to get that goal? And he says, James, what are you talking about? I'm paying you a small fortune to coach me to get my goal way quicker. I'm not paying you to make me suffer. I says, okay, you want to be in this sport on this team in this country? Yeah? He goes, yes. I said, okay, here's your answer because you don't want to suffer. So I wrote down a number and I gave it to him and he started reading it out and he says, what's this? I says, that's the phone number of the head coach of that other country over there who's one of the worst in the sport. I suggest you go and join that country and that team. Because if you want to be the greatest of all time in this sport and you're not prepared to have some sacrifice or suffering, you're never going to get there. And we started talking about it. And he did then say, hey, I'm willing to suffer. What did that look like? Less drinking, less late nights. We're not talking pain. I'm not putting him through pain. It's just saying no to some things so you can say yes to the main thing. I hope that every listener takes the time to answer those 3 questions.
That's so good. One thing you said was, all of these people, they're very clear on what success looks like. What if somebody's like, okay, I know what success looks like to me. This is what I want. But then they're like, I don't know how to get there. So they're like, I can see what I want, but like, I don't even know how to get there. And sometimes the not knowing, I have found with some clients, it's like that's like the block. And sometimes that's happened for me before. It's like I know I want this thing, but I don't know how I'm going to get there. I mean, I've worked a lot to where the point of like I don't have to know anymore. I know like it'll come. But for some people, and even when I was younger, I was like, well, I don't know how to get there, so I'm not going to do it. Or it's
Mm.
like there's that block. So how do you coach them up on that?
Yeah, so once people know what they want, but they're going, I don't know how to get there, so they start to stall and
Mm-hmm.
sit in indecision and procrastination, and then that becomes a habit loop. Tony Robbins would say, take massive action. I'd say do the opposite. Do the opposite of what Tony Robbins says in that instance. Don't take massive action. Why? Most of us cannot sustain massive action. It's not something we can do all day, every day, month on month, year on year. I would say take really small action and don't stop. Most people have 33rd step syndrome. They go, okay, I know what I want. I want the $1 million, or I want the body, or I want whatever it might be. And they start going, okay, I'll need to do that and then that. I need to call that person. They have 33 steps and they go, oh my goodness, so overwhelming. I say to my clients, do the opposite. If you know what you want, what's your most important next step? Just the first one. Take that step and stop. Tomorrow, what's your most important next step after that? The smallest actions you can take, compounded over time, will almost guarantee you that you'll get the outcome you want.
Mm. Yeah. What if someone doesn't know what they want? Do you ever have people that come to you that don't know what they want? Maybe they've succeeded in some other arena and then they're coming to you because they're like, I don't even know what's next. Like,
Yeah.
how do you coach them up on that one?
Often this happens for people who are at career transitions. They're going from one chapter to the next. So, lots of former athletes, and they're coming to the end of their career. Like, James, what on earth do I do? My identity is based in my career. And I see this in corporate as well. Like, I'm a lawyer. What on earth can I do outside of this? I'm nobody if I'm not a lawyer. Well, actually, you're way more than that. So the first thing I would say is identify who you are. You might be a daughter, a mother, you might be a sister, you might be a pet owner, you might be a friend, you might be passionate about sewing, tiddlywinks, football. It doesn't matter what it is. Start broadening your identity. Like, who am I? I'm more than my career. I'm way more than my career. And then I would say start following your passions. People talk about, passion is for us and purpose is for others. It's what we do for other people. So start following your passions, get curious, try new things, meet new people, leave one for yourself. You're in a mastermind. Cool. Maybe it's time to leave that one and join a whole new group that focuses on a whole new thing that challenges you. So get out of your comfort zone, try new things, and reshape more holistically who your identity is. It's more than just your career.
Hmm. I like that. That's good. All right. I think, well, let me see this other last question I have for you from the girls. I think I might have
Great
already.
questions from the girls, by the way.
I know, right? I got a great team here. If, well, I think I already asked this, but if someone well, this is for the listeners. If someone's feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or disconnected from their health, what is the first step that they can take to start like creating that positive momentum in the right direction?
All outer success begins inside. So the narrative you create in your head dictates what happens in the outer world. So the words we use, the tonality we use, that's so crucial. So start with I ams. I am abundantly healthy. I am, attracting health to my body. I am surrounded by solutions. I am naturally healthy. Like all these things that can switch the narrative, as opposed to I'm old, I'm aging, I'm slow, I'm big boned, I'm too skinny. whatever it might be, start really rewiring the BS, the belief systems, by really fine tuning what you say to yourself.
Mm.
I've been one of the worst, when I was in my 20s in terms of health. I drank way too much alcohol. I never went to the gym. I ate crap food. And I would just say, yeah, but I'm Irish. Like we drink and we eat starchy foods and fried foods. That's what we do. That inner talk's terrible. So now I literally write, I am the creator of my abundant health. Like I am the one and only person that can dictate that journey. So I think start rewiring what they're saying and
Mhm.
then take the most important next step, which is find someone who knows more than you. I'm all about specialists, whether
Mhm.
it's gastro, whether it's to do with cardiovascular. I went to see a lung mechanic yesterday. I never even heard of a lung mechanic. It's like, so I speak a lot. I speak on stage 2 or 3 times a week all around the world about high performance and leadership. And I'm finding some like pains and challenges. I'm not breathing right, apparently. So I go yesterday and I find the best in the country that can help me learn to breathe again. So find someone to help you. Don't be shy. If you don't want to go to a specialist, get books, listen to podcasts like this, listen to people who are deep experts in their field.
Yeah. I find that as I've gotten older and doing more business and just having children, hiring people who specialize in whatever it is that I need, uh, it's so helpful. I mean, I always just tell, oh, I can't afford that, or I can't. It's like I can't not afford to hire the right people. So I agree with you. That's so important. Okay, you talked about books, you talked about podcasts. Can you share with everyone your podcast? And I also have your book right here.
Thank you so much for sharing the message with the world. So, The Habits of High Performers is the name of my book and also the name of the podcast. And it's the 7 most critical habits that help people sustain high performance. So, if someone's already there, it's going to help them sustain it. And if they're not already there, there's a roadmap in there that takes them through step by step how to create a high performance life. When people read high performance, they often think athletes. That is not the case. We can all be high performing parents. We can be
Mhm.
high performing accountants, lawyers, teachers, whatever it might be. High performing in our health, our relationships, our wealth. So the habits really apply to everyone. And the podcast goes in deep on those topics with the world leaders in sport, business, finance, politics.
I was listening to one, you were interviewing a lady about the nervous system, and she was literally reminding me to breathe and to do breath work. And I'm like, okay, like, yes, I need to, I don't need, I want to. Like, sometimes I think as a high performer too, like, sometimes we forget, right? Like, the very things that helped us get to where we're at. I have found that sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing that thing anymore. And that was a thing that helped me get here. And
Mhm.
so it's like going back to that toolkit that we all have and drawing upon it. So I love in your book, like you have all these pages of drawings. Like my brain is like, I love a good, drawing in a book. And like this one is it's like multiply your motivation, desire. You go from desire and you have like this flame fire, and then you have next is like success is an inside job, and then mastering your life, jumping over these hurdles, um, and then you put in there high performance is hormonal, and I wanted to ask you about that. I know how I interpret it, but I want to ask you about that. And then you have a pair of glasses and it's like clarity helps with execution.
Mhm.
So with like this burning desire, it's an inside job. Like we get to jump over these hurdles and we get to create this biochemistry to help us get there. And then just having that clarity is so important. Can you share with the listeners, because they've heard me talk before about the biochemistry, but what do you mean by that chemistry, what you're talking about in your book?
Yeah. And so high performance is hormonal. And what I
Mhm.
mean by that is that people can get clear on where they want to go, their goals, they have a strategy, a roadmap, they've got a coach, whatever it might be. But if their biochemistry is not set up to help them win, they're never going to get there. We
Mhm.
need internal drive. So, for example, take a few. So, norepinephrine,
Mhm.
Endorphins, dopamine, serotonin. So those are like really key neurotransmitters if we want to chase after our goals, because you can be really well intentioned and know what you want, but why can I not just get to the gym? Why can I not just stay up and read that book or do that course? Well, take a look at those things and see where you're sitting. So dopamine's a really important one. That helps us really chase. It helps the habit loop. It helps us pursue what we want. They did a study with rats many years ago, and these rats were starving, and they put food in front of the rats. And of course, what do the rats do? Boom, straight to the food we want to eat. Then what they did is they blocked their dopamine receptor in their brain, and starving still, put the food an inch in front of them, and they just looked at the food. They had no motivation, no get up and go to actually pursue the goal, and they were starving. We are no different. When we have imbalances with those neurotransmitters, we will be lethargic. We will call ourselves lazy. We won't pursue the goals that we write down on January 1st. So it's super important that we manage our hormones, and some that can be hormone replacement therapy. For others who maybe don't need that yet, it could be sleep, exercise, diet, breath work. All these things have a massive impact on those neurotransmitters that I just mentioned.
Mhm. Yeah, that's so good. It's so important. Our hormones are literally driving our behavior each and every day. And I always remind my clients that we can actually shift our biochemistry in 150 to 300 milliseconds by shifting a thought alone. And so, yeah, that internal work is so important, because when we are having hormone shifts and different things due to, there's all sorts of reasons why all this happens, not just aging, to have that mental capacity of that internal work will really help us when we do have some things shifting quite drastically. Um,
Agree.
yeah. So, okay, James, thank you so much for joining me today. And can you share with everyone where they can find you? I know if you're watching on YouTube or on LinkedIn, we have the scrolling ticker. I was going to say ticker on the bottom with thehabitbook.com and also your social media. But can you share with everyone anywhere else that they can find you?
Yeah,
LinkedIn,
absolutely.
social media, all of that.
Anna Marie, thanks for having me on the show. It's been a pleasure. Great conversation. So if anybody wants to connect, so LinkedIn or Instagram under James Laughlin, or as most people say in North America, Laughlin, Laughlin. The book, just go to thehabitbook.com or Amazon and check it out. And if they want to listen to the podcast, The Habits of High Performers on Apple or Spotify.
Yeah. And did you know you're on Audible as well?
I did not know that. Thank you for letting me know.
That is where I found your podcast was on Audible.
Wow,
I was just typing in your name and there it came.
that's
So
epic. Thank you for letting me
thank
know.
you,
I
universe.
learned something new today.
All
That's
right,
awesome.
James. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Thank you for all your tips. Loved it every minute. Thank you.
Thanks a million, Anna Marie. We'll talk soon.